NASA, in its wildest imaginations, never envisioned this scenario. An astronaut drowning in a spacesuit on a spacewalk 260 miles above planet Earth.
Drowning inside his own helmet
caused him to nearly drown inside of his own suit.
Water in his helmet?
It's an incredible story.
harrowing, almost unfathomable.
Unbelievable.
This was one they had never envisioned.
I experienced what it's like to be a goldfish in a fishbowl.
Hey, let's use a diaper. I thought that's a clever solution to this problem.
Yeah, pretty neat. They also came up with the snorkel idea too,
Yeah.
you know.
Makeshift snorkels.
This snorkel, if water is encroaching your face, the crew member can lean down and use this to breathe.
They're ripping that spacesuit apart, trying to figure out where all that water came from. Not like there are that many options when you're out on a spacewalk.
Next on Jonathan Bird's Blue World, Jonathan goes to inner space.
I'm standing on the International Space Station.
Water in space.
NASA says they cannot guarantee the helmet won't fill with water again.
And obviously, if you fill the helmet, you can't breathe.
Scary story. Glad he made out okay. That's a leak.
Oh, it's an explained leak.
A significant leak.
When I was commanding the International Space Station, we had a significant coolant leak.
I imagine there are no insignificant leaks in space.
These things do happen.
It's not, something we don't have plans for.
But,
But you're in space.
You're in space, which means it's much more difficult to fix.
It's a pretty big problem.
Just about 3 hours now since we first observed what you're seeing on the screen, that being a leak.
You can only leak so long, and then eventually you stop leaking because you run out of fluid.
The fluid that you're seeing in the form of snowflake-like particles, it is a bit odd. Do not know what the source of that stream of particles is. A sudden streams looking like
A snow shower.
Space is tough, especially whenever you're trying to show video from space.
On the ground in the water tank, on orbit, essentially the same picture.
Matthias Maurer was wrapping up a 7-hour-long spacewalk outside the International Space Station when he noticed water leaking into his helmet. It was eerily similar to what happened to an Italian astronaut back in 2013.
You can literally see bubbles coming up from these astronauts' helmets. It's ridiculous.
So many times during spacewalks outside the International Space Station, we can see air bubbles rising up. Can you touch on how there are air bubbles in space? So yeah, like a lot of times during the footage, the NASA footage, you can see bubbles coming up out of the helmets or kind of from underneath you. How do you explain bubbles in space?
Yeah, even on the outside of the space station, you'll liberate little pieces of, it's a really harsh environment out there, and the outside of the space station can heat up pretty good. And sometimes, you'll get a little flecks of paint or something that you might just probably floating away from it. And, that's generally what that is. I've never seen any kind of air bubble anywhere.
Yeah. Could it be that you're filming in an underwater pool and you're not really out there?
How's Bubbles in Space doing? How's what? Bubbles in Space?
Bubbles in space?
Yeah. I don't know what that is.
What's up, man? Can you sideline hashtag bubbles in space?
Hashtag bubbles in space?
Bubbles in space, brother. What's your word on that?
What is that?
Bubbles coming out in the spacewalks?
Oh, you're that guy.
I'm one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm not gonna write that.
Not everybody can be a robot polisher.
Water in space.